and welcome back to Create Your Life Story, the definitive guide to help you record, edit and share life's memories with family in the world in a way that has never been possible until today, with ideas for starting now. I'm your host Ian Cath, and this is episode 3. Is it too late to start an audio life story? This is the third episode to get things started. How am I going so far? What have you come to understand about your own project? And what are you planning on doing? Please let me know. I'd love to know how things are going out there in the great world that you're living in. As you can tell, it's nightfall here, and the cicadas are out. Maybe you can hear that, maybe you can't. But please let me know. Chat at createyourlifestory.com, and I'd love to know how things are going. But the question is it too late to start to record an audio life story? A few months back, I was doing a bit of work and I had just spent a lovely couple of hours with a couple of elderly people talking about things and recording a bit of information from them. I was up on the Sunshine Coast, just north of Brisbane here. It was January, it was hot, and we'd just finished chatting, and they were showing me around their garden, and I noticed that they had a glut of mangoes, and they said, "Oh, would you like some?" So they pulled a couple of icy cold mangoes out of the fridge and gave me a couple of them. And I had full intentions of going to the beach, so I did. So I drove on down to the beach, and I had a late afternoon summer swim and sat on the beach and ate this wonderful freezing cold mango. It was wonderful. And while I was there, I bumped into a fellow, and we were just chatting. He was actually poking around in the sand with a metal detector looking for bits and pieces, and I asked him what he was up to. And he asked me what I was doing, and I told him that I record life stories. And he said, "Wow, that's really cool. I wish I had have recorded my mother before she passed away. There were so many things I would like to have known." So the very, very obvious question to, is it too late to start to record an audio life story, is yes, when it's over. When the life has ended, it is too late. And procrastination is an amazing good killer of a good life story. And unfortunately, we all do have a limited amount of time on this earth, so bear that in mind. But that's the obvious one. There are other times. Allow me to tell you a story. When I started my online chat show, Your Story, which you can go and check out, and please do, at yourstorypodcast.com, I thought about all of the people in my social network, in my community who I thought could be interesting to have on the show. And a good friend of mine, her grandmother, who is now in her, she's still alive. She must be probably about 97, 98 now, but at the time she was about 94. I knew a little bit about her, and I thought, now this is a woman who I wouldn't mind having on the show. A little bit of background. When she was in her early 20s, she just happened to meet an American director who was here in Australia making a movie. He was, I think, in his 40s, early to mid-40s at the time, and they fell in love. She moved to the United States, they got married, and they had a wonderful life. You know, a few times I spoke to her about her husband, she just went all gooey. They must have had a tremendous time. And I knew a little bit of the backstory, and the fact that he was a director in this era, which is probably the 30s and the 40s, meant that for her and her associates, through him, they knew all of the people, the glitterati of Hollywood of the time. Their personal friends were people like Charlie Chaplin, Mary Pickford, Douglas Fairbanks Jr. She, because she was very young, marrying a middle-aged man, had an opportunity in the new 21st century to dip back into an era that is long gone. And I asked her family, I said, "Can I sit with your grandma and record her life?" I know that particular exercise would have been hard work because she was she's a sweet dear, but she is very quietly spoken, and she doesn't string conversations together very well, which is just the reality of it. But I was prepared to stick with it because I thought, what a tremendous story this will be. So I asked the family, and after a few weeks, I eventually prompted them and got them to answer me, and they declined. I was gutted, frankly, because I thought it was a tremendous story. And they said that the reason being is she was so frail and so old that they were concerned for her health, and that reliving all of these old experiences could be just a bit too much for her, which I accept. But it's a terrible shame. But unfortunately, that's just the way it is. She's still here. This is 3 years ago that I asked this question. She's still here today. She's still living in a nursing home, and I understand that she's, quite good and quite happy, and life's bubbling along for her. But I don't think I'll ever get that story. And I suppose this is a point I'm trying to make. Even though she's still here, the story is lost. And it's not just because somebody has passed away that we lose these stories. It's because time marches on. And even though we don't know when somebody is going to eventually die, there is this insidious, very subtle, discreet losing of the story or the ability to get the story. In the case of her, she just became too frail. Some people start to lose their memories. Some people lose the ability to, and you've come across these people, they've still got all their faculties, but they just can't string a conversation together well.